And now we come to chapter 3. My brethren, be not many masters, knowing that we shall receive the greater condemnation. Now, this masters, more appropriately that of schoolmasters or teachers. And really, James is warning against these in whom are not called to be teachers. Their case is awful. They shall receive greater condemnation than common sinners. They have not only sinned in thrusting themselves into that office which God has never called them, but through their insufficiency, the flocks over whom they have assumed the mastery perish for lack of knowledge, and their blood will God require at the watchman's hand. And this is a very important verse to mention how notice the levels involved with the judgment here, and that is greater, implying that there are lesser levels of judgment, which even a few of the commentators noted. The comparative adjective greater or stricter implies degrees of treatment at the judgment seat. Many people like to say, well, a sin is a sin, it doesn't matter. Not all sins are labeled abominations. There are certain sins that are greater than others, more punishment, more stripes put upon others, fewer stripes for the more ignorant. It's greater condemnation. So then James moves into verse 2, where we see him speaking more generally about teachers. For in many things we offend all. If any man offend not in word, the same as a perfect man, and able also to bridle the whole body. The meaning here is that all are liable to commit error, and that this consideration should induce men to be cautious in seeking an office where an error would be likely to do so much injury, which is an appropriate setup for the next few verses. The particular thing, doubtless, which the apostle had in his eye was the peculiar liability to commit error, or to do wrong with the tongue. Verse 3, Behold, we put bits in the horses' mouths, that they may obey us, and we turn about their whole body. Behold also the ships, which though they be so great, and are driven of fierce winds, yet are they turned about with a very small helm, whithersoever the governor listeth. Even so the tongue is a little member, and boasteth great things. Behold, how great a matter a little fire kindleth. And the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. So is the tongue among our members, that it defileth the whole body, and setteth on fire the course of nature, and it is set on fire of hell. Speaking of teachers giving false doctrine, false teachings that harm people and set them in the wrong directions, destroying families and souls and so much damage. Verse 7, For every kind of beast, and of birds, and of serpents, and of things in the sea is tamed, and hath been tamed of mankind, but the tongue can no man tame. It is an unruly evil, full of deadly poison. Therewith, or by the tongue, bless we God, even the Father, and also therewith curse we men, which are made after the similitude of God. Out of the same mouth proceedeth blessing and cursing. My brethren, these things ought not so to be. Doth the fountain send forth at the same place sweet water and bitter? Can the fig tree, my brethren, bear olive berries, either a vine figs? So can no fountain both yield salt water and fresh. Who is a wise man, and endued with knowledge among you? Let him show out of a good conversation his works with meekness of wisdom. But if ye have bitter envying and strife in your hearts, glory not, and lie not against the truth. This wisdom descendeth not from above, but is earthly, sensual, devilish. Notice how James is advising those with an evil heart to glory not. And do remember at this instance who the target audience is that James is addressing, that we learn from chapter 1 even. Of the 12 tribes, he's speaking to the Jewish people primarily. This was, it is obvious, likely to be the besetting sin of the party of the circumcision, or the Jews, in relation to the Gentiles, and was therefore checked by St. James. They boasted themselves in that they knew the true God, and the Gentiles were hell-bound and all of this. Just as afterwards, though, when the prospect of the rejection of Israel was becoming a certainty, it became, in its turn, the sin of the Gentile converts, and was then checked by St. Paul. Verse 16, For where envying and strife is, there is confusion and every evil work. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy. And the fruit of righteousness is sown in peace of them that make peace. To which Joseph Benson commented, the meaning may be, they that endeavor to make peace among men, which is a fruit or work of righteousness, do thereby sow to themselves in peace. That is, they take that course which will produce to them happiness in the end. More forward-thinking are those in whom know God and thereby seek peace. Chapter 4. From whence come wars and fightings among you? Come they not hence, even of your lust that war in your members? Ye lust and have not, ye kill and desire to have and cannot obtain. Ye fight and war, yet ye have not, because ye ask not. Ye ask and receive not, because ye ask amiss, that ye may consume it upon your lust. Now, as we alluded to in the introduction to the book of James, he was a man of prayer, according to church tradition. He was a great man of prayer, and it's on that topic that he's referring to right now, prayer. When men ask of God prosperity, they often ask with wrong aims and intentions. If we thus seek the things of this world, it is just in God to deny them. Unbelieving and cold desires beg denials, and we may be sure that when prayers are rather the language of lust than of graces, they will return empty. Verse 4, Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enemy with God? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of God. Do ye think that the Scripture saith in vain, The Spirit that dwelleth in us lusteth to envy? Now, this is a rather unusual verse right here, verse 5, because we cannot find in the Old Testament the exact phrase used right there, but then again, it doesn't have to be verbatim. He refers, Albert Barnes noted, he refers to the general teaching of the Old Testament that the soul is by nature inclined to envy, or that this has a deep lodgment in the heart of man, envy. Verse 6, But he giveth more grace, wherefore he saith, God resisteth the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble. Barnes once again quickly noted, it seems suddenly to have occurred to James that all were not under the influence of these things, that there were cases where men were restrained and where a spirit opposite to these things prevailed. And the whole point right here is that of being humble. God resisteth the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble. Submit yourselves therefore to God, resist the devil, and he will flee from you. As I've made note of in prior studies about how the devil, he's not going to want to waste much time on someone in whom isn't giving in to those temptations. He's already aware that he has a short time relative to that of eternity. He has a very short time to do this evil work of his. So he's not going to waste too much if you resist. Verse 8, Draw nigh or near, draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, ye sinners, and purify your hearts, ye double-minded. Be afflicted and mourn and weep. Let your laughter be turned to mourning, and your joy to heaviness. Humble yourselves in the sight of the Lord, and he shall lift you up. He that speaketh evil of his brother and judgeth his brother speaketh evil of the law, and judgeth the law. But if thou judge the law, thou art not a doer of the law, but a judge. Notice real quick about how James notes how he that speaketh evil of his brother and judgeth his brother speaketh evil of the law. And that is of both the law of Moses and the law of Christ, or the law of faith, which forbids that kind of speaking, and judgeth the law. It goes on to say, they also judge the law, condemns it, as if it were an imperfect rule. And the verse ends with, But if thou judge the law, or set yourself above it, thou art not a doer of the law, but a judge. Verse 12, There is one lawgiver, who is able to save and to destroy. Who art thou that judgest another? Go to now, ye that say, Today or tomorrow we will go into such a city, and continue there a year, and buy and sell, and get gain. This is the common speech of the world at large throughout history. Whereas ye know not, you have all these plans, but ye know not what shall be on the morrow. For what is your life? It is even a vapor, that appeareth for a little time, and then vanisheth away. So life is like a vapor on this earth for all of us. Like a vapor, Matthew Poole noted, frail, uncertain, and of short continuance. And then how vain are those counsels and purposes that are built upon no more sure a foundation than your own lives. meaning all the plans that people have, getting rich, famous, whatever, a family, white picket fence, big house, nice cars, nice clothes, all these things could disappear in a moment because you are no more on the earth. For that ye ought to say, if the Lord will, we shall live, and do this or that. But now ye rejoice in your boastings. All such rejoicing is evil. Therefore, to him that knoweth to do good and doeth it not, to him it is sin. Now, for final comments by Charles Ellicott, the word for boastings, they boast of tomorrow. They boast of all these things that they're going to get. The word for boastings is the same as that translated the pride of life in 1 John 2. In essence, it's braggart boastfulness, not the innocent gladness of living. It is the trust of the ungodly. There shall no harm happen unto me, they think. I'll live to 100 and be the rich, famous person I always thought, before the Almighty instructs them by trouble and loss and pain. Within a moment, the Scripture says he sets such in slippery places where the next step could be the very last.